Good evening. My name is Natalie Swadley, and I'm a senior at Surrattsville High School, the Pearl of Clinton. My GPA is a 4.0, and I'm the Vice Wing Commander of Air Force JROTC Unit. I'm an active student in Surrattsville High School. I'm a varsity soccer and softball player. I participate in everything relating to ROTC, and I am a member of the National Honor Society and Kitty Hawk Society. My plans for the future is to attend a four-year college, such as Norfolk University, and participate in their ROTC program where I would like to major in criminal justice. My long-term goal is to become an officer in the military and become a military police officer. I'm a motivated and strong-minded Surrattsville High School student, and I am ready for college. Now I would like to welcome you to the January 23rd, 2014 Prince George's County Board of Education meeting. Highlights for this evening will include the proclamation designating the week of February 10th through February 14th, 2014 as the Peace Week for Prince George's County. Additionally, the Board of Education would like to address the 2014-2015 school calendar. Please continue to check www.pgcps.org for upcoming Board of Education meetings and events. And now, the January 23rd Board of Education meeting will begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. Thank you so much for your patience. I am so excited about the packed house that we have here this evening. Our apologies for keeping you waiting, but you know, when the house is packed and the main event comes on, you got to be a little late to build up the anticipation a little bit. So thanks, folks, for waiting for us. This is, of course, the January 23rd, 2013 board meeting of the Prince George's County Board of Education. Again, a reminder, particularly since I see some young people in the house this evening, turn off the cell phone. Keep it on vibrate, ladies and gentlemen, as it interferes with the microphone and the taping of the meeting, and of course makes for a very awkward situation when your phone rings. Before I begin, of course, let me thank again Miss Natalie Swadley, a 12th grade student at Surrattsville High School and Vice Wing Commander. Thank you. Like so many others, she represents what excellence in education means every day here in Prince George's County. We know that you will continue to serve us well and to represent yourself and your students well. Thank you, Natalie. Okay, Ms. Mundy, would you please lead the board prayer and pledge of allegiance?
O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, steer us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mundy. Mrs. Parker, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Dr. Anderson? Mr. Burrows?
Here.
Ms. Epps? Ms. Eubanks?
Here.
Ms. Higgins?
Here.
Ms. Jacobs?
Here.
Dr. Kaufman? Here. Ms. Mundy?
Happy to be here.
Mr. Valentine?
Here.
Ms. Waller? Here. Ms. Williams?
Here.
Ms. Muse-Arillo? Ms. Boston?
Here.
Dr. Eubanks?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. And before I take an adoption of the agenda, Ms. Higgins, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I move that we move 13.1 public comment on non-agenda items to after 5.1 on public comment on agenda items.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to move up to non-agenda items, to agenda items, or something to that extent. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, so in addition, before we take adoption of the agenda, in addition to that change, please note that item 1.1, the motion to meet an executive session at 3 p.m. was canceled because item 2.1, oral arguments at 4:30 p.m. Was also canceled. And so those are changed. And in addition to that change that we just passed, I entertain a motion to adopt the 2014 January 23rd board meeting agenda.
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Colleagues, may I have a motion to approve the January 9, 2014 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The minutes are approved. Item 4.6, we will now have a news break entitled, Is There a Doctor in the House?
I can pick up stuff. I can throw a ball, and I can run away.
Holding up remarkable medical devices like a prosthetic hand, artificial knees, and perfectly formed skull bones generated by 3D printers as examples of her agency's oversight responsibilities. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Dr. Margaret Hamburg recently spoke to the assembled biomedical students at Bladensburg High School who could one day be working for the FDA themselves.
Dr. Hamburg earned her MD from Harvard Medical School and completed her residency at what is now New York Presbyterian Hospital Weill Cornell Medical Center. She conducted neuroscience research at Rockefeller University in New York and at the National Institute of Mental Health, and later focused on AIDS research as Assistant Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
I was very fortunate in many ways in that I grew up in an academic setting. I actually grew up on the Stanford campus, and both my parents were on the faculty at Stanford and actually at the medical school. These kids are so impressive because they haven't always had all those opportunities, and yet they've made these commitments to their studies, have identified this area of interest for learning and possible career development.
After answering questions that range from the safety of genetically modified foods to the new nutrition labels on restaurant meals, Dr. Hamburg's parting words were a personal prescription for success.
Follow your passion. To not try now to define exactly what you're going to be doing 2, 3, 4 decades from now, not to set your heart on one particular thing, but to delve into the opportunities before you.
The reaction to Dr. Hamburg's plea to keep options open was immediate, as students, including Bladensburg's newly selected Posse Scholar, sensed its wisdom.
I've always aspired to be a pediatrician, so I plan on going to Bucknell and majoring in chemistry or biochemistry, and later on going to medical school just like Dr. Hamburg, and eventually becoming a pediatrician.
As of now, I'm looking into working as an environmental biologist, so who knows, I might possibly end up working at the FDA.
This would be the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, the cerebellum, and the hypothalamus would be there.
Stirring as the commissioner's words were, the biomedical students hardly need more motivation. In their anatomy class, for example, the identification of body parts on mannequins is intense, as would-be health professionals try to raise their stem cell and skeletal IQs.
Abdominal, good. What separates your thoracic cavity from your abdominal? Your diaphragm, good.
I think that the biomedical program is fantastic just because it allows students so much more access to applicable science. And it's now associated with diseases that they're seeing in their families. It's associated with case studies that they're seeing in the news. They're able to put together bodies like you were seeing in here earlier. So just the hands-on aspect and the real-life applications I think is what is really going to make a difference for these kids to be able to pursue it in the future.
The students, as they're coming in, we're trying to give them an excitement to become a lifelong learner in anatomy and physiology, so that they don't just take a course, but they understand that they're taking a process that's going to deliver them into a career eventually, but they'll be prepared and enjoy the journey along the way.
The real-world immersion in the biomedical sciences is, as hoped, giving students the chance to sample careers along the way, discarding some, reconsidering others.
At first, before I even got to class, I was like, okay, pediatrician, no, that looks good. No, I don't want that. Forensics, no, I don't want that. I was like, I can go to my microbiology. I don't want that. Took chemistry. I'm taking chemistry right now. I don't want that. I'm still looking, and I'm still searching, and I just keep writing them down and scratching them off to see which one I want and which one would keep me happy.
Just as Dr. Hamburg found her healthcare happiness in ways unimagined, so too will James. A doctor in the house, if you will, of his own making.
The pressures on me were different because everyone expected, of course, I'd be a doctor with 2 doctor parents, and so making that final decision to actually go into medical school in some ways was harder because I had to reach deep in and determine, is this what I really want to do, or is it just what's expected of me? And then, of course, my career path hasn't been that of the typical doctor.
When I get in this class, I'm thinking about 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Am I going to be sitting behind a desk? Am I going to be saving somebody's life? That's what I see. That's when I come to this class, I just got to remember, can't slack off. This is more than just a grade. This is more than just an A or a B. This is for the rest of my life.
For Channels 96 and 38, this is Dave Zara.
Thank you for that. As you see, every day we're working to offer every one of our students a full range of college and career options as they leave our schools prepared for the challenges of the world, and just another great example of a great program that does that. I just got to, just give an aside, it still continues to amaze me, and I don't know if we've given David Zern a Lifetime Achievement Award for the tremendous work that he does for the school district, but his work on really publicizing the great work that we do every day is tremendous. So, special shout out to him. All right, we'll go to item 4.7, which is the report of the chair. A couple of notes. First, now that our board is complete with our newest board member, Sonia Williams. Welcome again, Sonia. You're a veteran now. Second meeting. You're a veteran. We're even more focused on the enormous tasks ahead of us to advance the achievement of our diverse student population through collaboration with the CEO, with his staff, with our colleagues in our staff unions and associations throughout, as well as the community at large. The Board of Education would like to encourage all constituents to be sure to attend the upcoming FY15 proposed operating budget work sessions and budget public hearings. Those who had the opportunity to listen to Dr. Maxwell present his budget knows that it is ambitious and robust, and we have a heck of an important task as a board now to move that budget on to the next level and to make sure that we present one that is worthy of the great students, parents, and teachers who work with us every day. For us to do that, we need your support and we need your attendance. On January 27, 2014, we have a work session at 5 p.m. and a public hearing here in the boardroom at 7 p.m. On February 29th, we have our second public hearing at 7 p.m. And on February 25th, we have a work session and public hearing at 7 p.m. All sessions, work sessions and public hearings will be held here in the boardroom, so please do attend and give us your feedback. Kudos to our students. Congratulations to the 12 Prince George's County Schools alumni from the class of 2013 who were recently honored for receiving their International Baccalaureate Diploma, or IB diploma. To earn the IB diploma, students had to pass the IB exams, write an extended essay, and complete course requirements in theory of knowledge, in creativity, action, and service while participating in the IB program during their junior and senior years of high school. All honorees are currently pursuing degrees at higher learning institutions. Again, congratulations and best wishes. Upcoming events, we have February 27, 2014 board meeting at 7 p.m. That meeting stated will be here in the boardroom. Persons interested in speaking at those meetings of the board must register with the Office of the Board of Education 2.5 hours prior to the meeting by calling 301-925-6115. I'd now like to yield the remainder of my report for a point of personal privilege to my colleague and friend Curtis Valentine. Mr. Valentine.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis Valentine. I'm a member of the school board here. And when I became a teacher here in the county, one of the first people I interacted with when I walked into the school was a custodian. Many of you all know that in our schools, our custodians, our custodial workers, do their best to create the environment for our students, for teachers, administrators to do the work that they're doing. They are the institutional memory of our schools. They create an environment of public safety. And for many of the staff, they allow them to come in early and stay late and know that they'll be taken care of. When I went to visit my wife at the time when she was teaching at Stephen Decatur Middle School, the first person she introduced me to was not her principal, but was to the custodian. When she went to work at Owen Science Center, when I went to visit her there, the first person she introduced me to was the custodian. She said, these men and women take care of me. They make sure I come in, I feel safe, that the environment is one of learning. So what I wanted to do on behalf of the school board and in front of everyone is recognize our custodial workers for all the work that they do, the tireless work they do, for the work that Mr. Brown did at Stephen Decatur Middle School, for the work that Mr. Clark and Mr. Johnny did at Owen Science Center, to create an environment for my wife, but also for many of our teachers and students to come in and feel proud of their learning environment, but also understand that as staff turn over, that these custodial workers are there and that they take ownership in our school buildings, and that they understand that we have the support and the support of our school system. So I'd like to bring up Ms. Cynthia Collins from the SCIU Local 400 to accept this token of our esteem on behalf of the custodial workers. And the citation reads, Certificate of Recognition presented to custodial services in recognition of your hard work and tireless efforts to provide clean, healthy, and safe learning and working environment in Prince George's County Public Schools, presented on the 23rd day of January 2014, signed by Board Chair Segun Eubanks and CEO Kevin Maxwell. Thank you very much. Everybody in here.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine, for taking that initiative, and thanks to all of the dedicated and committed employees of Prince George's County Public Schools. And with that, I will yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for his report.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Now that we've had our first significant snowfall of the school year, I hope that everyone has had the opportunity to familiarize themselves with our winter weather emergency codes. When the threat of inclement weather arises, we work collaboratively with county government and agencies, national weather bureaus, and adjoining school districts to determine a plan of action that ensures the safety of students and staff while traveling to and from schools and offices. Please be aware that due to the size of our county, weather conditions may vary greatly between the southern and northern communities, and the decision to close schools has to be based on all road conditions. School operating status is posted on our website and shared with local radio and television stations. You can also sign up on our website to receive emergency e-alerts that send notification of school closures or delays directly to your email or cell phone. For details and to sign up for e-alerts, visit our website. As a reminder, the deadline to apply for the second semester of evening high school has been extended to Tuesday, January 28th. The program runs January through May and is conducted at Crossan and Northwestern high school sites. You can also register to take the online version of the program. Tuition and registration rates apply. To find out more, click on the revolving story on our homepage. Registration for charter schools and specialty programs is also currently in progress. These programs offer a variety of challenging and specialized programs for students, including creative and performing arts, language immersion, Montessori, talented and gifted, science and technology, and more. Seats are filled on a space available basis through a lottery process. The deadline to register for the charter school lottery is January 31st, and the deadline to register for the specialty program lottery is March 12th. Other programs of choice have their own registration deadlines separate from the lottery. For details on all programs, please visit our website. And don't forget to share your input as we develop the school district's operating budget and CIP plan. The Board of Education will host a public budget hearing on Monday, January 27 at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom, and the Department of Capital Programs will schedule one more opportunity in the central planning area for the community to take part in developing the Educational Facilities Master Plan. Your input is crucial in helping us develop an operating budget and capital improvement plan that truly reflects the needs and priorities of our school community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Thank you for reminding us about this lovely snow and weather we've been having. I'm sure students are happy to finally be back in school and we won't have any more delays. That's been official board policy
week.
Right now. No more delays for the rest of the year.
It's too late.
Oh. Except for tomorrow. Oh, Lord. All right. All right. Well, we'll see you kids all the way through June then. All right, folks, we are now at item 5.0, public comment on both agenda and non-agenda items. We have a nice long list today, so I'm going to read all of the guidelines for the evening. You have been registered to speak in a public comment forum where the Board of Education will listen to your comments. The board will not address your comments. All registered speakers will have 3 minutes to make their presentation. At the sound of the buzzer, speakers may complete that sentence only. Registered speakers may not relinquish any part of their speaking time to another registered or unregistered individual. Speakers may not address individuals or issues with profanity or derogatory terms. You will be warned, yada, 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 but no one will do that, so I can skip that part. Speakers are encouraged to use titles rather than names, for example, principal, superintendent, et cetera, et cetera. Please do leave a copy of your statement in the file box located next to the microphone. Your adherence to these guidelines will enable the public participation process to move smoothly. We have 13 speakers registered for us this evening. We're so excited to have you expressing your concerns to the board. So we'll start with speaker number 1, Mr. David Kahn. Mr. Kahn.
Thank you. The board has before it today a draft policy on culturally proficient schools and central offices. This is a great idea. There's so much good in this, and yet the draft is pulled down by some rather dangerous language that's in it. So I'd like to highlight some of the problems with the way this is worded. It defines culturally relevant. It says it means that students see themselves reflected in the curriculum. And one of the outcomes is that every PGCPS shall provide every student with equitable access to high-quality and culturally relevant instruction, curriculum, support, and other educational resources. Every student. That doesn't mean just white and black. And, you know, there's not a single white culture, and there's not a single black culture, and there's not a single Hispanic culture. Italians are not like Scandinavians, and African Americans are not like more recent immigrants from Africa. And you have Arabs. Are you going to teach how the Muslims contributed to the fantastic improvements in mathematics and physics? Are you going to teach Holocaust studies and how the Jews financed the Revolutionary War? Are you going to teach things about the Latvians? Are you going to teach things about all these people? And if they're not reflected in this, which is what you say you're going to do, you're looking for lawsuits. So you might want to examine this and say what you really mean. You talk about outcomes, and the board establishes the following outcomes. Well, the board can't establish an outcome. It can work towards it. It can desire the outcome, but it can't establish the outcome, because the outcome will be established by the work that's done under this. So I suggest a change. Then in the second outcome, I thought this was brought up at the policy meeting that you had back in December, but PGCPS shall welcome and empower all families. And then it says, including underrepresented families of color, including those whose first language may not be English. Well, that's unnecessary if it's all families, and this could be seen as words of limitation. For example, the reference to ESOL students are only those who are underrepresented families of color, so that if you're a representative family of color, or if you're white, the fact that you have a second language, English is your second language, you don't come under this. You don't necessarily get any help. The worst part of it, though, is in number 6. Reviewing policies, procedures, and practices that may impede the school system from correcting overrepresentation of students of color in areas of special education and discipline, and underrepresentation programs such as gifted and talented. This is really easy. Deny black kids the special education that they need, and lower standards for gifted and talented. I'm sure that's not what you mean. You've got to come up with a better way to say this. The goal of this is terrific. I love it. But you got to have a better drafted policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker on a non-agenda item is Ms. or Mr. Morgan Austin, middle school student. Is Morgan Austin here? Oh, here she comes. All right. Hello, Morgan.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Morgan Austin. I am currently an 8th grade student in Hyattsville Middle School in the Creative and Performing Arts program for theater. My request at this time is to please allow myself and other out-of-bounds students currently attending Hyattsville Middle School to attend Northwestern High School Academy for Visual and Performing Arts program. Most of the students in the CPA program will be attending Northwestern. These are the students that I have worked long, tiring hours with both before and after school. I have built relationships that have helped me foster my creative and academic achievements. Northwestern will allow me the opportunity to maintain consistency as I pursue my creative and performing art talents. Transitioning from Hyattsville Middle School, which is a feeder school for Northwestern. I have thrived at Hyattsville and am surrounded by teachers that have taught, coached, and nurtured me both academically and creatively. We have relationships and a spirit of cooperation and teamwork that have developed over the past 2 years among me and my CPA family. To watch us practice and perform together is a thing of beauty. We have bonded and gelled and feed off of each other's creative energy. We have formed relationships that will forever be a part of me. My issue is that I am what they call an out-of-bounds student. Upon leaving Hyattsville, in order to continue on the performing arts track under the current boundary structure, I will have to be bused to Suitland High School. My mom attended an informational session where it was made clear that out-of-bounds students would not be allowed to attend Northwestern and will be sent to Suitland High School. I am a Cheverly, Maryland resident, and Suitland is a much further commute, more than twice the distance, than Northwestern. Northwestern is where I wish to continue to pursue my performing arts dream. Any consideration given this request will be a blessing and greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. Our next speaker is Enoch Wilson, Jr. Mr. Wilson.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Wilson.
My name is Enoch Wilson, Jr., and I am also an 8th grade student at Hyattsville Middle School, and I'm currently studying theater lab in my CPA department. When I was younger, I remember my life goal was to be a wrestler and a police officer. By the time I got to 5th grade, my whole life goal changed. I realized that by expressing myself with true theatrics, that I made my teachers and family members laugh. While in the 6th grade, I learned also the opportunity to attend a CPA school that helped me develop my skills and further talent on stage. I auditioned for Theater Lab at Hyattsville Middle School and was very excited when I got my letter of acceptance into the program. Since that time, I had the opportunity to grow in my area of interest in performing on stage at my school, and also the Folgers at Theater Lab as Lysander and Midsummer Night's Dream. I was very proud of myself when I won awards in my performance, but also more importantly, being able to understand the play and the language during Shakespeare time. I have grown and learned so much understanding in the theater, and the CPA Theater Lab teacher, my teacher. She makes me give out my full potential and helps me do my best. The other teachers are just as encouraging, as well as my friends, and I have grown a relationship with them during this time. But I was deeply sad to learn that once I leave Hyattsville Middle School that I would not be able to attend Northwestern. I would have to go to a school across town. So my neighborhood school does not offer a CPA program. These are my friends my desire would be to continue to be in the Hyattsville area and have the right to attend Northwestern High School. They have a CPA program that will keep me challenged academically and also build my craft as an actor. Most of my peers that attend Hyattsville Middle School are also going to Northwestern because they live in this area. These are my friends that I'm familiar with and developed a strong relationship with, and we keep each other encouraged. I hope you don't mind if I mention that my brother Rico Cooper attended and played football in Northwestern High School for the 10th grade year and graduated in 2000. So please, I'm asking that you reconsider the decision on sending your students in the Hyattsville to a school across town. My twin sister, who is a dancer at Hyattsville Middle School in the CPA program, we are all striving in the area and would love the opportunity to continue to strive for excellence in the Hyattsville Middle School area and continue to come to Northwestern. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Niket Moody.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Nisette Moody, and I am the Nutrition Outreach Coordinator with Share Our Strength. Share Our Strength is a nonprofit organization that's nationally known, but more specifically here in Maryland, we're working with the county to help end childhood hunger, a pretty lofty goal set out by the governor of Mali. One of his goals for 2015 is to end childhood hunger. Ironically enough, 1 in 5 kids are actually very food insecure, which means they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And we are trying to close the gap between students not knowing where their meal is coming from and make sure that they are provided with the best food and nutrients, especially while they're at school. You guys may not know, but this month, January, is School Board Recognition Month. And the Maryland No Kid Hungry campaign, which is the campaign working to end childhood hunger here in Maryland, would like to thank the Prince George's School Board for all their support and making sure that students in this area start the day with a healthy breakfast. Prince George's School Board has been instrumental in helping us move school breakfast out of the cafeteria and integrating it into the regular school day. We've helped fund over 30 schools to begin an alternative breakfast model. The Share Strength campaign gives out various granting to help the schools buy equipment or just to help kind of promote breakfast in the school. Believe it or not, breakfast for some reason isn't very popular, especially among the younger kids, so we try to make it seem more appealing and appetizing to the kids at school. Our biggest success is actually in our Maryland Meals for Achievement, or MFA schools. Our organization helps to fund and support Governor O'Malley to give $1.8 million more to Maryland schools to fund this, making more students get free meals at school. And our biggest achievement, I would say, or one of our biggest achievements, is Princeton Elementary School in Suitland, Maryland. At the beginning of the school year, they were serving around 87 kids for breakfast, and now it's 282 students. It's a 200% increase. Breakfast is extremely huge, and as you guys know, it's the most important meal of the day. You have to have breakfast, whether it's a snack bar or something. Kids need to have something like that in their stomachs to perform better and do good in their tests and their studies. Because of the support of the board members and our food service director, Joan Shorter, we've helped fund and support over 37 schools in the county so that more students are eating breakfast and ready to learn. And a special thanks to our CEO, Mr. Kevin Maxwell, for being a national voice for promoting our school breakfast. And as was mentioned earlier by the chair, as you guys know, we did have a couple school days. So yes, of course, a lot of students are very happy, but there are a pocket of kids who are actually pretty sad because they weren't able to get a free meal or just a meal alone at school. And so there's something to kind of keep in mind the next time we have a school day. Board members, you guys are receiving a package like this that'll be going around that has a lot of information about our organization, and it also has my business card for any other questions or concerns. Feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Our fifth speaker this evening is Leona Lowry. Is Leona Lowry here?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Leona Lowry Fitzhugh, the Visual and Performing Arts Coordinator at Northwestern High School. I am a 20-year employee of Prince George's County Public Schools, musician, teacher, mentor, arts integration specialist, and lifelong arts advocate. I want to thank the board and Dr. Maxwell first for the support that you've given the arts in general and in this county, and the Visual and Performing Arts Academy at Northwestern in particular. We now have additional staffing and resources that will allow our students to not only be career and college ready, but to compete on national standards in the arts with peers from around the country. We will have additional tutors to prepare our students for private instruction in music. Our TV and film studio will have a new TriCaster, which will allow live and remote broadcasting of events in classrooms. We have new instruments for music for the orchestra and band, artists and residents that will help to inspire the students of the Academy in dance and visual arts. We are proud at Northwestern to be allowed to carry the name of our illustrious alum, Jim Henson, and we're proud to send students off to work with the Washington Opera, Broadway Productions, network news and television studios. We have teachers, actors, singers, dancers all over the world. In order for Northwestern to continue in this success, however, we need students who have had an extensive arts training before grade 9, like the students at Hyattsville CPA program, to join our academy in order to complete their college preparation in the arts and continue the excellence pathway that they've already begun. Students who are beginning or an entry level in arts at grade 9 are less likely to successfully compete for college and conservatory auditions because of that lack of intensive training. If Northwestern remains an in-boundary only program, only 3 of the 85 CPA students at Hyattsville will be able to attend Northwestern. The remaining 81 students, many of them living right there in Hyattsville, Brentwood, and those northern areas, will not be able to attend because of the boundary restrictions. These students were allowed to audition for Hyattsville Middle, and they were accepted, and they were provided transportation for grades 7 and 8. But now in grade 9, they either have to give up their passion for the arts or be bused across town to Suitland High School. And many of them can walk to Northwestern, but they're considered out of bounds. My office and the Creative Arts Supervisor's Office has fielded dozens of calls from Hyattsville Middle, Charles Carroll Middle, Greenbelt Middle, Buck Lodge Middle, parents who want their children right in the area to attend Northwestern, but the boundaries closed. My proposal tonight is to provide our feeder school, Hyattsville Middle, access to Northwestern's VPA program. It is more educationally sound and fiscally responsible to send students to a school 5 minutes from their old school rather than to bus them across town to continue to study arts or to have them drop the arts altogether at a school that doesn't even have their program. If we're committed to college and career readiness, then all students should have that consideration. We are offering best practices to these young people. We should have best dancers, best voice teachers, best media instructors. Thank you so much.
And thank you. Our next speaker is Precious Carter.
Good evening. In agreement with Northwestern High School proposal, I would like to further reiterate the importance of the Hyattsville Middle School CPA students being given the opportunity to audition for Northwestern VPA. Let me first say, I am Precious Carter, the Creative and Performing Arts Coordinator at Hyattsville Middle School. As current Creative and Performing Arts students, they are considered to be students of Hyattsville, and students in Hyattsville feed into Northwestern High School. So why shouldn't these same students be given the same opportunity? We're not asking you to open the boundary to everyone, but we are asking that stipulations are made to accommodate the creative and performing arts students. These students have chosen careers in the arts, and just like any other career choice, parents, teachers, and administrative specialists want them to receive the best instructional practices that will prepare them for college and career readiness. As a cluster of schools, Hyattsville Middle and Northwestern have begun to establish a collaboration amongst the schools at both the staff and student level in an effort to build creative mentoring relationships that will foster academic performance and professional growth. Our goals at both schools are to prepare our students for competitive global society. Presently, we serve 200 students, of which at least 75% of them are out-of-boundary students. It is unfortunate that while the mass majority of them are Hyattsville residents, according to the boundary stipulations, they are considered to be out-of-boundary. Why allow our students to attend a feeder school for Northwestern and then deny them the opportunity to attend it? Why deny them the opportunity to further develop their crafts to prepare them for collegiate auditions and scholarships at their current school's feeder school? What happens to those students that do not meet their students who have to go to schools that do not meet their creative needs? Many of the students' home schools do not have performing arts programs. Where do our creative writers go? Future authors. Hyattsville presently is the only creative performing arts school with creative writing as a discipline. And those students are hoping to matriculate into Northwestern as journalism majors. What happens? What happens to the future elementary school that you plan to have with the new creative performing arts school that matriculates into Hyattsville Middle? Where are they going to go? We are presently attempting to build a cluster of schools between the three schools. What will happen to their opportunities if we do not stop and think about the future of these students and their development as we continue to prepare them daily through collaboration? Our goal is solely toward college and career readiness and overriding what society has statistically said that they cannot do, but of which we know that they can do. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? Please consider making a clause for Hyattsville Middle School creative performing arts students. Give them the opportunity not just to fly, but to spread their wings and soar. Thank you.
I don't see anything in my public speaking guidelines about not being able to sing, so fine. Thank you. Our next speaker is Alicia Davis. Is Alicia Davis present?
Good evening, Dr. Maxwell, members of the board. My name is Alicia Davis. I'm here. I accepted appointment as a Medicaid liaison over 5 years ago with the Department of Transportation at Prince George's County Public Schools. I would like to share an experience that I entitled A Broken System. I'm an employee who was injured on the job. Can you believe that no one came to help me? I was a very diligent worker, in more areas than I was hired to do. Is it possible for officials in this system to allow to have a policy that is conducive for all employees in the community with Prince George's County Public School System? If you could take a moment to follow me on the overview of my journey. I was severely injured October 4th, 2011, due to faulty office equipment while I was sitting at my desk working on a spreadsheet for payment. I sat up and sat at the chair and it broke, throwing me backwards, hitting my head, neck, and back. The carpet had no padding. My body weight hit the concrete floor, which was indoor-outdoor carpet. I blacked out for a moment and was very dizzy. I was taken to Concentra Medical Urgent Care, where I suffered from headaches, constant pain, head to my neck, back, legs, and arms. The chair was affected. It was broke at the welding. In addition, it was a newly purchased office chair that was purchased by Prince George's County Public Schools. Here is what occurred following the events. They never performed an MRI. They did a typical x-ray and wouldn't do an MRI because I was in constant pain, but they felt an MRI would suffice at the time. I went back to work, which the county states that they do not have light duty, but I'm here to state that they sent me back for a week. I was in pain to actually have to go out with work restrictions on a light duty policy. On October 17th, I had an emergency appointment with another orthopedic doctor that took me out of work immediately, and I was out now until the present, even standing today. Corvell is Prince George's County Board of Education Insurance Company. Took their time approving MRIs, pain management, epidurals, and other services that were required and majorly delayed my treatment. To me, this is grossly affecting my recovery and prolonging my healing. I've lost my health insurance. I have one child with a disability. I had to go on public assistance and try to get insurance for myself. To this day, I don't have health insurance. I had to search all over the DMV region looking for free medical services and hoping to find a much needed exams that I needed to have because I hadn't had for 2 years. It would not have taken place with your organization had been advised or talked about during my interview process. If I knew this policy was get well in 90 days or lose it all, I would have never taken this job. It was delayed in treatment. How do you get well in 90 days, I asked myself. I was also told that I had to pay a $1,500 a month benefit after my 90 days expired. Well, you know you're injured and you're on a reduced income. How can you pay $1,500 to continue your health care? Now keep in mind, I was injured on a job by purchased office equipment by your school system. There was time stated by the union that they have covered people in the past in situations like myself. Like I said, I had a disabled kid that had medicine that cost $2,000 a month. And it's heartbreaking to stand here because I was a very diligent worker. To end it, you know, I was making $314 a week on workers' comp. So I come to you today and ask, how am I supposed to survive when you all can't accommodate my disability? And I stand today because I'm heartbroken to work for a system that has left me cold and dry. And some people on the board have been notified, have yet and gotten correspondence from me, have never even responded to help me and my family. So that's why I stand today, because if you're injured on a job, you're left out in the cold. And I, would want you all to take a look at this, and I would like to meet with the CEO, county executive, the chair, so we could work these out, because I don't wish this on anyone. It's been a nightmare for me. So if you have to be in my shoes, I'm a single parent, I'm a widow of 2. So I cry out for help, and I stand here today and hope you all can basically understand my cry. I was a diligent employee. To stand today, it took everything I had to come out. I thank you, and I hope you can take that time and consider my pain through this all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Our next speaker this evening is Davita Spencer. Is Davita Spencer here?
Good evening. My name is Davita Spencer. I'm the mother of 2 straight-A students who love school. My husband and I work hard to support and encourage their love for school and reading and age-appropriate activities. I also resigned from my corporate position to start a family child care because even though I can only have 8 in my family center, I'm committed to helping as many children as I can truly prepare for school and have a love for learning. That being said, as you make the decision to vote on whether to move our Barack Obama 5th graders to middle school, I would greatly appreciate it if you would keep the following in mind and in prayer for the success and safety of our children. There are many articles and studies that deliver the pros and cons of moving 6th grade to middle school. Please consider these issues. Many 10 and 11-year-olds are not mature enough to handle the social pressures of middle school. Most of our Barack Obama students are doing very well and being groomed by some amazing teachers and caring staff to continue to do well in their technologically advanced learning environment. However, with very little notice, you are going to require them to completely change the way that they're learning and studying and receiving information. Most of these students, while they are looking forward to middle school and high school and college, they are also looking forward to their last year at Barack Obama to be the sixth grade leaders they were groomed to be. Many 10-year-olds are not responsible enough to be home by themselves, and with no aftercare in middle school, that leaves us parents with another challenge to face. If they are the only school being moved, that does not make for much of a peer support system for them and potentially leaves them as targets for older children. Moving children from one overcrowded school to another does not seem to be a logical step in alleviating overcrowding issues, particularly when other schools in the area are under capacity. My opinion noted, I wanted to highlight this. In almost all the data, pro and con, the common thread is preparation. You wouldn't logically send a 2nd grader straight to 4th grade or only give them a few months to prepare. They obviously need that 3rd grade work, but they also need time to grow and to mature for the next stage. In most instances in life, preparation is required for healthy transition. Please, give us parents and our children the respect of allowing what logically takes some time to prepare for instead of only a few months. I do thank you for your time and attention, and I truly, truly appreciate the work that you are doing for our babies and for our community. Thank you so much.
And thank you. Our next speaker is Derek Holmesley. Is Derek Holmesley here?
Good afternoon to the distinguished board members, Dr. Eubanks, CEO, Dr. Maxwell. I am Derek Holmesley. I am a product of this school system. I graduated from Sriracha High School in 1986. I became the acting director of transportation in 2009. I went on in 1996 to represent this county in the Olympic trials in the long jump in Atlanta. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I am a parent. I have parents sitting to my left here who are educators, 2 retired principals in D.C. public schools that were very well respected. I am cut from a superior cloth. I am here today to talk about a conspiracy against me as the Director of Transportation. I was asked to send a disclosure letter to my department about behaviors that are not accepted by Prince George's County Public Schools, which had Department of Transportation rules and regulations attached to them. The former Director of Labor Relations did not want the letter that I sent to be sent out to the masses, the letter that was approved by the former Deputy Director of Schools and the former General Counsel of Schools. He, in turn, the former Director of Labor Relations, wanted me to send his letter. I told him if we send that letter, you would get grievances. He sent the letter anyway after sending me an email telling me I don't give a damn who you told, who you need to check with to send it. I said send it. After that, a tumultuous occurrence happened for me. 2 weeks later, I was the former Director of Transportation, who was promoted to the Chief of supporting services, and the chief of IT came to my office and confiscated my computer and my cell phones and told me I was under investigation for internet pornography. During the course of their investigation, the investigation showed that there was no internet pornography in my computer or in my cell phones. So then the charge turned to inappropriate emails, for which these emails contain pornography. And I am not an IT guru, but if you send an email through a computer that has a pornographic picture attached to it, it will attach to your hard drive. How do you give me an investigation from IT services that tells me that my computer does not have internet pornography in it if the emails that were sent through this computer had pornographic pictures attached to it? As I continued the journey in this, I was told, sitting in my home with my father, two officials from Local 2250, the bus drivers union in which I supervised, came to my home and told me that the director of labor and relations and one of my former transportation supervisors who sat and worked with the former chair on their attempt to become chair again, exchanged these emails and infiltrated them into my computer and caused my demise. I ran my department cleanly, I ran my department well, and I never had a smudge on my record until this time. So I'm asking the board to please look at my case, investigate my computers and my cell phones, and give me the opportunity to clear my name. And I'm a product of this school system. And I can't believe that I'm standing here talking to a school system that I asked God through my athletic career to allow me to effectuate change. And when I got this job here, I was delighted because I effectuated change by transporting your children to school.
Thank you.
I thank God for this opportunity, and I thank all of you for this opportunity today.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Carol Barber. Carol Barber, please make your way to the mic. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Carol Barber, and I'm addressing my concerns about the human resources hiring process and the lack of Latino principals. A multicultural Latina, I meet all licensure requirements required by the state, and I'm a fifth-generation educator. I was a successful administrator in Prince George's and several other school districts. I've won community service awards and received a governor's citation for excellence. I served our county by volunteering evenings and weekends to interview teaching candidates. I hope to reestablish my roots in our school system. I've reapplied to reenter the school system since 2008. Between 2008 and 2010, the application process has changed at least twice. In 2009, an associate introduced me to the former board chair's spouse. The former board chair's spouse asked my associate and me to give a political fundraiser for the former board chair. My associate paid for the fundraiser that we hosted jointly. I stopped hosting political fundraisers because my participation could have created a conflict of interest. Throughout the campaign season, the former board chair spouse informed me via email that opportunities opened up on June 30th, that I have the patience of Job, and that we don't forget favors, among other statements. When it became obvious I would not host additional fundraisers, there were no interviews beyond the second level. With no other option, I entered litigation. Though I'm no longer in litigation, and let me be clear, the process was quite instructive. During depositions, the chief academic officer testified that I'm qualified and eligible for hire. The acting chief human resources officer testified that I must be eligible since the system accepts my applications. A former female chief human resources officer testified that some candidates who didn't meet state certification requirements were hired. When reviewing an email that named such a principal, she said, "I don't keep tabs on people. Doris did, as you can see." She also testified, if X did not pass the exam, it would be near the end of the year anyway, so height would have removed her from the principalship. it would have been his call. The Chief Academic Officer and former Acting Chief Human Resources Officer testified that I'm qualified and eligible for hire. This former female Chief Human Resources Officer testified that principals who were not qualified by state standards were hired. There is quite a hiring conundrum indeed. Thus, I request a formal meeting with the Chair of the Board, the Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Human Resources Officer, and a decision-making representative from the County Executive's Office to resolve my myriad concerns. I do not wish to be a problem. I wish to reestablish myself in this school system to again be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alfred Turner. Is Alfred Turner here?
Good evening, board members and Dr. Maxwell. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here today to express my continued dissatisfaction with the lack of responsive and the integrity of the several supervisors, chief officers, and directors of which you had left to maintain the oversight of some of the largest budgets in our district. Namely, the supervisor of transportation, chief of transportation, director of purchasing and supplies, her superiors, chief financial officer, and chief operating officer. I have made numerous inquiries regarding the status of my Freedom of Information Act request and bid protest on the IFB 049-13, providing fuel additive. Based on the process in your purchasing and supply manual, A says an interested party may file protest to an award or proposed award of a bid or propose against alleged solicitation, defects, alleged overly restricted specification, omission of required provision, or ambiguous or indefinite evaluation factors. B states all protests are to be submitted to the responsible director or contracting officer of the personal department within 10 calendar days after the bid or the protest has actually opened, and you have to present it in writing. As the above-mentioned bid was evidence of all the violation items listed above, I filed a timely protest on 3/12/2012. To date, neither the Chief of Transportation, Director of Purchasing and Supply, the CFO, or the COO has provided me with an answer regarding my concern, all of which I have notified on numerous occasions and provided documentation to support my allegations. How are we as taxpayers, parents, and community members expected to trust the board when there are officers which have been made aware of clear violation of law, at a minimum, federal guidelines, and they fail to act? And you, also the board members, continue to leave them in place. Yes, I have also courtesy copied several of you all in the emails to make you aware of some of the violations, namely bid steering by the transportation supervisor, chief and purchasing director, allowing repeat sole sourcing of the product under bid 049-13 for 11 years. This bid was issued to the same vendor or one of its subsidiaries without seeking any additional participation, imposing unfair stalling tactics to prevent MBE's participation, intentionally imposing cost per bid requirements on MBE, then posting the complete opposite in the bid, violating fair and open competition for local MBEs by imposing excessive cost requirements which was clearly stated that they would be absorbed by the board. In good faith, MBEs come expecting to do business with the board. The takeover of the board by Mr. Baker was to clean up the black hole of the waste and reestablish some integrity in the system. If this is a careful look at the individuals who have been in the department for years, it does not take a genius to realize what needs to be done. Dr. Maxwell and board members, the fox cannot guard the hen house. Please clean up the yard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And our next speaker is Mr. Gerald Meggett. Mr. Meggett, would you please make your way to the mic? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, board and CEO. My thoughts today, I wanted to share two ideas, and I think everybody knows my spirit now when I come to the table. My focus is on the students, and I'm embarking on two different projects that I thought you might find interesting for the students. A research assignment in which I'm teaming up with 100 CEOs and entrepreneurial leaders in the DC metropolitan area. My background, you know, I have 8 years of experience at a Fortune 500 executive level, on the district, regional, and state level, working with the CEOs to answer one question. And the question is, why don't more young people aspire to be entrepreneurs? And so in interviewing these CEOs and these directors, what we're doing is we're coming up with a profile of who they were at the ages of 14 to 18. And this profile is designed to give a roadmap for not only students, but it's giving a roadmap for teachers, parents, anybody who's involved in these students' lives to say, these are where these CEOs were at that age group, and what can we do to kind of shape our future in those directions? So we've garnered some attractive attention from the CEO of Priceline.com. I have a meeting with him in February. One of the CEOs and executive directors of ProJet Aviation. But the idea is I'd love to be able to team with some of the schools, so as we're continuing to develop these interviews and these meetings, package that and be able to provide some type of assistance to give out to the school system to show students who are interested in business and entrepreneurship, these are the people that are making it happen today in our community. Here's how you can connect with them, and here's their stories. So that's really exciting. The second is I sit on the board of the Fellowship for Christian Athletes in Montgomery County, and I think one of the other ways we can accelerate our students and their livelihoods is some of the role models in the classroom are our athletes. And if we can impact their lives in a special way, we may be able to encourage them and inspire their lives to shape others, as we've been doing in Montgomery County. So I'm working on a special project with the state director of the Fellowship for Christian Athletes, who graduated from Bowie State High School, and also our board chairman in Montgomery County graduated from Bowie State High School, to put together a program inside of Prince George's County. So if you have coaches in your school system that are interested in connecting, I go to a lot of the basketball games and I serve as a character coach for the middle school, where we improve students' characters, and we might end with a nice God bless you and see where the conversation goes. So I'd love to have any type of connections to some of the coaches who may think inspiring students in another direction or a special way could be beneficial in their classroom and in the livelihoods of the hallways in the schools. So the two ideas is coaches and also putting together the research for the project executive in the hands of principals and teachers, and maybe we'll do some seminars and assemblies that we talked about a couple months ago. So I thank you for your time, and we always want to do something innovative to advance the student's lifestyle past the traditional and see where it goes. So really appreciate it, and continue the great work.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sandra Collier. Sandra Collier in the house.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Collier, and I am the president of the PTA at Barack Obama Elementary School. And we would just like to bring our concerns to the board today. We are asking that the board reevaluate the boundaries at Barack Obama Elementary School. There are students that spend over 1 hour on the bus to get home. How is that a neighborhood school? Barack Obama Elementary School pulled from 5 surrounding elementary schools when they opened. According to the enrollment status on the Prince George's County Public School website, those 5 schools are now all under-enrolled. Villages of Marlboro plans to redevelop the golf course with 300 homes. This will surely bring additional students to Barack Obama Elementary. If you reevaluate the boundaries, this will potentially eliminate the overcrowding at Barack Obama so that the 6th graders will not have to be removed. Removing the 6th graders out of Barack Obama Elementary School. Why were we only notified of this proposal in December at the forum at James Madison Middle School? Why in the middle of the school year? How do you prepare your 5th grader midway the year that they may be going to the middle school in the middle of the year? Common Core is a new curriculum just enforced this year. So we now want our students to adjust to the new curriculum, and they now have this new distraction of moving to a middle school. They entered into the 5th grade knowing they had another year at their state-of-the-art elementary school. Many families moved to this district just because they knew their child would be attending this state-of-the-art school? Why would you move students out of an already overcrowded school to attend another overcrowded school? Out of the mouths of babes. At our last January PTA meeting, one of our fifth graders comments was, as you parents sit and worry about our education, we worry that we are the youngest and the smallest students at the middle school. We are concerned about being bullied. As I said, I recommend here today for the Barack Obama PTA, and I want to show you that PTA at Barack Obama worked as a unit, so I'd like all the members of the PTA and parents and students of Barack Obama to please stand. Thank you.
Serious business. I told them.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our list of speakers for this evening. Thank you for taking the time to come out in this weather to share your thoughts, your concerns, and your suggestions with us. We listen, we hear you, and we deeply appreciate your voice. So now we will move on there are no legislative agenda items this evening, and there are no discussion items on the agenda this evening either, so we move on to item number 8.0, the consent agenda. I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of items 8.1 and 8.2 under the consent agenda. Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you. 8.1 is a proclamation commemorating Peace Week in Prince George's County Public Schools for the week of February 10 through 2014. And 8.2 is a declaration of surplus for property identified as Thomas Addison Elementary School, 7100 Oxon Hill Road, Oxon Hill, Maryland. On December 2nd, 2013, the Chief Executive Officer, that would be me, received a request from the Prince George's County government to transfer ownership of the school located on 7100 Oxon Hill Road, Oxon Hill, Maryland, 20744, also referred to as Thomas Addison Elementary School.
Thank you. Mr. Burrows.
I'd like to move 8.2 to item 10.1.
The 8.2 to non-consent agenda item 10.1. That does not require a vote. We will move that to a non-consent agenda item. And I will entertain a motion to approve item 8.1 under the budget consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those... About 8.1?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Dr. Anderson.
Yes, Dr. Maxwell, since we want to engage parents in the schools, do you think it's feasible to engage them in advocating for peace and advocating for safety in our schools during that period? During Peace Week?
I certainly see no problem with them advocating during that week and every other week of the school year.
But particularly to bring them to the schools for some activity, possibly to bring them to the school for some activity during that week.
We can certainly consider that and make a suggestion to principals that they think about how they might do that.
All set, Dr.
That's
Anderson?
all.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting item 8.1 under the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We now move to item 9.0, the budget consent agenda. And I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of items 9.1 through 9.5 under the budget consent agenda.
So 9.1 is an increase in the scope of work and A&E services for Tulip Grove Elementary School's major renovation project in the amount of $46,793. 9.2, Kenmore Middle School, approval of a proposed change order number 7 in the amount of $29,288 to the contract of Specialty Construction Company Incorporated for steel frames for rooftop units. Item 9.3 are the February 2014 expenditure requirements. 9.4 are appropriation reassignments over $100,000 within a major category for the period December 13, 2013 through January 3, 2014. 9.5 is a ratification of 2013-14 school year agreement on employee contracts, confidential, and board employees.
Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.5 under the budget consent agenda?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded to approve items 9.1 through 9.5 under the budget consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those are better. All right, this is a budget consent agenda, so I'm going to call the roll. Ms. Parker, please call the roll.
On the motion, Dr. Anderson? Mr. Burrows?
Aye.
Ms. Eubanks?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Ms. Jacobs? Dr. Kaufman?
Aye.
Ms. Mundy?
Aye.
Mr. Valentine? Ms. Waller?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Ms. Boston?
Aye.
Dr. Eubanks?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes item 9.0. We now move to item 10.0 on the non-consent agenda item, in which we would take up previous item 8.2, the declaration of surplus of property identified as Thomas Addison Elementary School on 77100 Oxon Hill Road, Oxon Hill, Maryland. Mr. Burrows.
Dr. Maxwell, staff, can you all walk me through the process of the evolution of this item on the agenda prior to today? What was the process that your administration followed to get us here today?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So what takes place is, in this case, the county government requested asked us if we wanted to utilize our Thomas Addison building.
Right.
And then reached out to our Director of Operations, Sam Stefanelli, to see if we had any use for the building. We looked at when was the last time we used it. We have not accessed that building for 5 years.
Right.
We've used staff to kind of go out and remove the debris and trash that's been placed in the facility because it's been unoccupied for so long.
Right.
And been vandalized. We looked at what the square footage was for the building, which is approximately 25,000 square feet, its location, and then determined whether it would be a building that we would need in the near future.
Right.
Unfortunately, with 25,000 square feet, that would only accommodate less than 175 students.
Right.
So at this time, we don't have a need for a facility with such a low SRC.
Right.
We hadn't used it for years, and now the location is not the best location with the implementation of the new, at that time, the new outlet mall that's there and all the traffic from the National Harbor.
Right.
We told the county no, we did not have a use for it. They then drafted a letter, requested the property, and then we began the process of creating a board action summary.
And did you consider the community proposals that were on the table prior to the letter that they submitted to you?
So when you say community proposals, you mean what the county will use the building for?
No, there were several conversations with, at the time, Carl Belcher, Sam Stefanelli. There was a school, a private school that was Spanish immersion that wanted to lease the building. They conducted a walkthrough of the building. It appears from the last email that I was able to pull out of my email account that Eric Walker and several personnel from the school system was moving in the direction of awarding them or leasing the building to them. The private school made several commitments to the school district that they would work with our students, allowing our students to have access to the facility and also to their Spanish immersion program. As you know, Height left, Dr. Potter left, and Dr. Crawley came all at the same time. And so, you know, I've had several conversations with them over the years. I had a pastor of a church in Fort Washington that recently reached out to me, you know, asking about this facility. And so my question to the administration, you know, this was posted in board docs 4 days ago, roughly. And you were contacted, I believe, in December, right? Moving forward, it would be helpful to gain as much information as possible ahead of time, and to provide enough notice to the board ahead of time, because there are proposals. You know, I have a 20-page proposal here from a school in the district, and 50% of the private school students at this school, 50% come back to the school system from middle and high school. And there's several other community proposals for this school. And I asked the administration to consider this as a first reader and second reader. I'm very happy that it will be used to train our citizens, hopefully. I think that's an amazing thing. But I would hate for community members to feel slighted because they have been in contact with staff and they have been working through the process to the best of their ability. I asked the administration to make this a first reader, second reader, to allow time to review those proposals, to have those conversations, to ensure that community members like this group and other groups did not feel slighted by this move. And the administration was not willing to comply with that, right? This is before the board as a consent agenda item, and consent agenda, according to policy, is something that's administrative in nature or something that the board has reviewed in the past. This is the first time that we're seeing this. And so I didn't have adequate amount of time to reach back out to these community groups, letting them know that a change had occurred. And so, you know, I have no problem with this today. I have no problem with it becoming a training facility for MGM. It's, you know, I represent this community, and if you're going to do this, if you're going to declare this property surplus, at least have some regard for the people that live in the area.
So let me share that I've been in this position for 1.5 years.
Right.
And this is the first time that I've heard of a private school wanting to access and utilize that building. And I must be honest, I've had charters to reach out to say that they needed facilities, and we've tried to accommodate in any of our vacant buildings, and typically they have not been able to use them just because of size.
Right.
But this is the first I've heard of that. So I would think that even in the 1.5 years that I was here, if they were interested in that actual property, that they would have reached out directly to myself or anyone in our staff within the last 1.5 years.
Yeah, I have emails from, you know, Sam Stefanelli's in here, and I know he's still with the system, and other personnel, and maybe it didn't reach your desk. You know, I think moving forward, if we're going to have, and you know, I did my best to work with the administration offline regarding these issues. I think moving forward, if we're going to declare property surplus or impact neighborhood school or neighborhood community, it's important that we consider the proposals that are already on the table from the people that live in that area.
Do you mind sharing the year that information was requested?
2011 is the last walkthrough that they did, but like I said, they've been. This is the last email that I've received. I know a number of those individuals are still talking about it. In 2012, I had correspondence with the PTSA leaders at the school. As early as 2 months ago, I talked with a parent at the school about it. And so this is the last correspondence in my email.
But the school's closed, so I'm not sure.
But yeah, so the school is shut down, but this proposal, this private school proposal, this private school.
I got you now. I'm
PTSA,
sorry. When you said PTSA, when you said parent, I didn't understand. Thank you for clarifying.
No problem. The PTSA at this school was on the proposal committee that met with Dr. Height. I know they was working. They worked with Benita Coleman Potter for quite some time, and I'm not opposed to moving forward with the training facility. It's just very difficult for me to represent the community, not knowing that you're in the process of working on this. You know, I got 4-day notice. If you knew in December, it might have been helpful to just shoot me an email to let me know that this is something that you're looking at doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have Dr. Anderson, Ms. Jacobs, Ms. Boston, Ms. Higgins, and myself in the queue.
Yes.
Anyone else who wants to get in the queue, let me know.
I understand the concerns of Mr. Burrows, but I have to tell you I was very excited to read that the school could possibly be used for a training center, because the first thing that came to my mind is how we could prepare more of our citizens to take on the jobs at those three major companies in that community. That's at National Harbor, MGM, and Tanger Outlets. So I'm looking at this as a great opportunity that we don't have to pay for, possibly, to have our residents prepared for jobs that many of them have not been capable of getting. So I'm excited about it, notwithstanding, I'm excited about it possibly being used for that purpose, and I would certainly be happy to support this. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you. Excuse me. My concern, I actually support, thank you, Dr. Anderson, for approaching it from the standpoint of what could be used for the community. My concern is actually, and if there's some legal impediments to this, just let me know what those are. And that is, why not let them lease from the school system instead of us surplusing the building? I know it was long before my time, and probably a lot of people sitting here, that the school district surplused a lot of areas in some previous years, and then when we actually needed the property, we didn't have it. So my question would be, lease it to MGM, let them build it back up into a training center, and when they're done, they give it back to us. Still could be used as a community organization, and it's still owned by the school district.
So we're of the belief that the law compels us, when the county asks us for a property that we have no intention of using, that we yield it to the county. Would you like to speak further to the changes in the law and
I'll be
or
glad
whatever
to
you feel
address
is
it.
appropriate?
Ms. Jacobs, the statutory rubric is not quite as availing as you might suggest. Section 4-115 of the education article specifically states that when a school board or school system no longer has a need for any land, school site, or building for school purposes, it has an obligation to inform the county government and the county council of the fact that it's surplus, so that the county government initially can make the decision as to whether or not it has a need for it for economic development or as part of its economic plan in the county. If the county then decides that it does not have use for it in conjunction with, in this case, let's say MGM or National Harbor, then under another section of the law that was passed in 2011, that's codified at 9-111 of the education article, school boards have an obligation to offer it to charter schools if it wishes to use it. And again, this size, this condition may not make it very amenable for charter schools to want to use, but that's if the county government doesn't have a need for it. Nowhere in that statutory rubric does it provide that private schools, not charter schools, which as we know are public schools in the county and in the state, that private schools have a priority for usage, Mr. Burrows, no, I'm saying that private schools don't have a priority use of the property. Now, unless we have reason to believe that we have a need for the building as a school or for offices down the road, and I just heard Ms. Golston say that we don't, then there's no reason to maintain it in our inventory and preempt the county's role in economic development by just leasing it directly to MGM.
It's an interesting analysis, especially considering whether it's private schools or not. I think think what I heard Mr. Burrows say is that we didn't hear what the analysis was in terms of actually ultimately making the decision that we had no educational purpose for it. So, I appreciate that, because I think specifically what you read was that once we've determined that we're not going to use it for an educational purpose. And so that's at the administrative level that you made that decision. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Yes, Ms. Boston.
I support us doing remaining this property back to the county. My question is, if we didn't, how much would it cost for us to renovate that property to use to have a school or another organization to come in? Because I just want to hear for the record how much it would cost to renovate that property.
I definitely don't have an exact amount for you, but it would definitely be in the millions.
Thank you.
Ms. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you help us understand how this became a consent agenda item instead of a discussion item?
It was brought to our attention in December, as Mr. Burrows announced earlier, that the county government wanted our surplus property. We had no need for it. It's been in existence and unoccupied for 5 years. It has become an item where there has been vandalism. And we wanted to provide the opportunity for the county government to have that site as soon as possible, and they requested that if we could grant that property as soon as the process would allow, they would appreciate it.
So, but in this process is also board action is required. So for it to come in as a consent agenda item certainly says consent agendas, there are no discussions. So for me personally, it puts me in the position of having to add questions as opposed to have it be a discussion item. And I'm speaking for future events as well. If there are things that are going to cause this kind of action on the part of the board, it would be very valuable to have a discussion, to have the full presentation by the administration in regards to what we're doing, because I look on it and I see we're giving a surplus building to the casinos. I don't know what we're getting in return for that. I think our students, we certainly have tremendous needs as identified in the budget. And so to turn a school over, and then I hear there's also community needs that could be addressed. So if this is the best plan, I think it would be better for us to talk together and have the full information as opposed to putting it on a consent agenda item and then board members having to pull it off and raise issues. And it sounds like there's dissension when there's really a lack of ability to come together in terms of this. I have a problem without any kind of understanding as to what MGM casinos will be providing the school system back for the use of that property, and I haven't heard anything about that. How do we as a school system benefit from that?
I would say to you that I don't see it as within my purview or my role or the board's role to negotiate with MGM over the use or anything of the building. The law says that if the county has a need for the building and we don't, we convey it back to the county. That's our role and responsibility. The county then, through its economic development arm, they're going to have to work that out with MGM, whatever the lease, purchases are. I mean, MGM is certainly, I think been in the newspaper saying they want to be good partners and those kind of things. But it's not up to us to withhold that, to say unless you give us something, we're not going to follow the direction of the law as we see it and understand it. We got a request in December to convey a property that hasn't been used for 5 years back to the county. Not in my wildest imagination could I have thought that we'd be, talking about, requests that are a couple years old that neither Ms. Golson nor myself nor, people at this table at least, perhaps somewhere else in the organization, but that we have no knowledge of. I mean, this is 2014, not 2011, not 2012. There has been a change in leadership. I understand that. But everybody else is aware of that, too. It's been pretty widely spread. And if people are interested in things, they should be conveying that currently, not years old. And I think that communication would be best done through the administration of the school system and not individuals that then we don't have any knowledge of. I mean, when Mr. Burrows says he needs to get back to these people in the private schools, I'll be quite honest and say I believe that's the role of the school system, not the elected board, to be, negotiating where, private schools are going to be housed. And if they'd been talking to us, maybe we would have had a different perspective on it. But for now, we've got an empty building that hasn't been used for 5 years, that we have no purpose for going forward that we can foresee, and the county has asked for it back, and so,
I think all those points are well taken and would have been valuable to have in a discussion or in some information as opposed to a consent agenda item. And Mr. Margolis is presiding what the law says we have authority or not to have had that documentation, because otherwise we're reading a consent agenda item that says we're giving surplus property to a casino. So
I do want to add.
We're giving it to the county, not to the casino.
That I can read. The board action summary says we're giving it to the casino.
No, we're giving it to the county.
No, we're conveying it back to the county as a request from the county government to convey it to them.
The property will be used, the location will be, okay, thank you.
I do want to clarify about the process. I looked at a previous board action summary for surplus property, and it was initially placed on consent. It wasn't on first and second reader, and that was back in 2011. And so that was also the reason why I placed it for consent this year. I can go back and look at my notes.
Thank you. I've signed myself and then Dr. Valentine. So just so I'm clear, I know we lease some space in some of our buildings to some government agencies, but other than that, aside from charter schools, do we have the knowledge, expertise, or interest or history in leasing buildings to private entities?
The most recent one that I'm aware of is to the city of Greenbelt, utilizing a small portion of Greenbelt Middle School, which is currently under renovation, so they have not occupied the facility. Actually, no one has.
However, it would be fair to say, without conveying the property, we do have churches and organizations who, through our building use process, use our school. So, but they're not receiving the building or leasing the building in its total, from us. They're using a building that we are occupying, that we are using, not one that is surplus.
All right. And so is it your assessment, George, this might be for you as well, because it seemed when you read the law, that it's relatively cut and dry. We have a building we haven't used in 5 years. The county says we need it. We are part of a shared governance structure. We're not, a completely separate entity from the rest of the government. We are part of that government, and the law says we ought to be working interchangeably. And so if we don't need the building, we convey it to them. And while there's plenty of gray area in the language of the law, does it seem pretty clear to you that that's our move?
I don't want to presume that the board doesn't have a role in here. I mean, the board needs to approve the recommendation of the CEO or not, obviously. But yes, I think it is somewhat cut and dry in as much as the recommendation goes that there is a considered judgment on the part of the administration that there is no need for this building. And if there is no need for this building and the board agrees, then it needs to be considered surplus and turned back to the county government under 4-115 of the education article. If the board does not agree and thinks that there is a need for this building educationally in our inventory, then you're free to reject the CEO's recommendation.
Right. So I understand that, but it would just seem, as I understand it, that yes, we have every right to say we think there is a real need for this building. Here's the need. Don't do that. Use this need. That's different than saying we don't know if there's a need. We just don't want to give it to you right now. We're going to hold on to it because there
Right.
might.
That's correct.
There might be a need in the future. All right. So, I mean, I'll conclude with that, other than just to talk about a process point, because I've been corrected on this on a number of occasions. We both have the right to discuss items that are in the consent agenda item, and every time we move, I am very explicitly now been told to ask for discussion, and of course we have the right to pull it off of the budget consent agenda item, which we have. So the processes are in place for us to have the discussion, because after all, we're having it right now. Mr. Valentine.
Thank you. And my comments come from the perspective of the board member who lives closest to this building. For the longest, this building has been vacant, I think, longer than 5 years. I'm surprised you said, I thought it was more like 10. When you pass this building, it is vacant. For anyone who lives in a community where a vacant building is located, where you have children playing, it is not safe. I've been looking for years to figure out what was the use of this building because of where it's located in the middle of a community, where as a parent of two, knowing that this building is available for people who may have unseemly ideas to do with it, that it's being used for something. A member of the River Bend community, someone, again, who lived right down the street from this building, I am happy to see that something is being used. For those who would oppose it, I would ask you what you would do if you had a vacant building in your community for more than 5 years, boarded up where children play, and there was a use where county employees, potential county government, county companies, would be able to use that to create workforce development opportunities and hopefully partnerships with those local schools. For those of you who would like to use additional money to refurbish it, I could find a number of schools in the area that would take that money gladly and use that for other more timely reconstruction, particularly in the school areas which I live and I visit on a regular basis. So I would recommend approving this as a community member, as someone who lives very close to the school, as a concerned citizen that does not like to see vacant buildings in their community.
Thank you. I see no one else buzzing in for round one. We'll move on to round two. Mr. Burrows and Ms. Jacobs.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if my comments were clear. Once again, I don't oppose. I'm not opposing allowing the county government to use this facility for training. I want to ensure that community groups and community partners are not ignored. As the board member who's elected to represent that district, I've received the phone calls regarding this property, and I've received the phone calls regarding proposals dealing with this school. And, moving forward, I think it's important that the administration and the board work together. Certainly, that's what this school tried to do before. And I'm not saying that the community should work solely with the board member or work solely with administration. If we're going to succeed as a community and as a school district, it has to be a partnership between the board and the CEO. I'm not opposed to this. I simply wanted the administration to take the time to review all the proposals before making a decision. And that's not too much to ask for the people that I represent.
Thank you. Ms. Jacobs.
Thank you, Dr. Eubanks. Just to be clear, don't want my comments to be misrepresented. I think someone asked the question, what would MGM use it for in terms of turning it into a training facility? I think one misconception with regard to casinos, and part of the mantra when the whole gambling issue was put before the voters, was that this would bring jobs to our constituents. And there's some suggestion that just because people live in Prince George's County, they would automatically get these jobs. And in fact, as I understand it, the jobs that exist in casinos really do require extensive training for people to be up to par to actually get the jobs. So, for example, our high school students could graduate and still not have the skill set available to them to be able to do that. So to the extent that this would be a training facility that MGM would use to train citizens of Prince George's County so that they're prepared to take on the jobs, I think that's a great thing. In no way was I suggesting that the school district pay anything to refurbish the building. My question was very specific to let them have it, let them refurbish it, and the school system remain owners of it. You've explained that that's, from a legal perspective, not necessarily feasible. So just to be clear about what my comments are, and I'm not suggesting that there wasn't discussion or anything like that, I'm just simply saying that I understand the purpose of it. I just would like for the school system to maintain ownership, which we obviously have heard we can't do. Thank you.
I see no other comments on this issue, so I will entertain a motion.
I move to accept the 8.2. I'm sorry, I move to accept 8.2.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Ms. Parker, please call the roll.
Dr. Anderson? Aye. Mr. Burrows?
Aye.
Ms. Eubanks?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Ms. Jacobs? Dr. Kaufman? Aye. Ms. Mundy?
Aye.
Mr. Valentine?
Aye.
Ms. Waller?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Abstain.
Ms. Boston? Aye. Dr. Eubanks?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We are now moving on to item 11.0. Do we have any? Yes. Governance, unfinished business, second readers. I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for introduction of item 11.1 under governance, unfinished business, second readers.
So item 11.1 is the Board of Education Policy 0102, focusing on culturally proficient schools and central offices. And 11.2, if I may, is the fiscal year 2013 final operating budget transfers.
Thank you. Ms. Higgins, you want to talk about this? Should I put it on the floor first, or do you want to do something different?
Well, I'm going to suggest that we pull 11.1, given the comments made by Mr. Khan, and give us a chance to review them to make sure that the policy is reflecting what our intent is. So I would make that motion.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor to pull item 11.1.
I'm sorry, could I use the word table till next meeting?
Yes.
That's probably more accurate.
To table
Yeah.
item 11.1 to the next meeting for of second reader, Board Policy 0102. Is there a second to this motion? Second. It has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? I see Mr. Valentine.
Can I ask Dr. Maxwell to tell us what the impact of delaying this 2 weeks would be on anything that you had planned?
None.
Dr. Anderson.
My reason for seconding the motion is that I think some of the language is a little loose, and I would like to see sort of like stated objectives that are measurable, because I don't understand, language like welcoming environment. I mean, it's nice, and how do you empower people, and how do you know that you have done that? Equitable access to high quality. That's, just kind of loose. So I love the idea. I think it's wonderful. I think that some of the goals could be stated in terms of objectives, and some of the outcomes could also be stated in terms of objectives. And if we have measurable objectives there that we could monitor over time and have some mechanism for monitoring, then I think the policy would be much stronger.
Thank you. I got it. Because we weren't supposed to have discussion. I would just remind folks, this is a board policy. We wrote this. Dr. Maxwell didn't really have anything to do with it, so I appreciate us directing the comments to Dr.
I'm happy
Maxwell.
to have people work on fixing it, though.
But regardless, we worked on this in committee, and we approved it in committee. I don't have any problems with us take another look at it without question, but let's not go to Dr. Maxwell. Okay, I said too much. I must stop right now. Stop. My attorney said stop. No more discussion. The motion is to table this until the next meeting, and no one can talk about it. Can I do this by voice vote at least? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. We've tabled our item. So we will now move on to item number 11.2. May I have a motion to approve item 11.2 under governance, unfinished business, second readers? I can't do anything without a motion.
So moved.
It has been moved. May I have a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I can't talk about this, right? Can I talk about this too, Abby? No? Is there any non-discussion? We're not discussing this. It's been properly moved and seconded, and so since there can be no discussion, even though that's what my script says, is there any discussion? Just saying this time. All right. Please call the roll, Mrs. Barker.
Dr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Burrows? Ms. Eubanks? Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Ms. Jacobs? Dr. Kaufman? Ms. Mundy?
Aye.
Mr. Valentine?
Aye.
Ms. Waller? Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Ms. Boston?
Aye.
Dr. Eubanks?
Aye. All right.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes that agenda item. We've taken care of public comments. Item 14.0, follow-up items. Follow-up items from the January 9, 2014 board meeting are pending due to recent office closures, and when available, these items will be posted on board docs. Item 15.1, colleagues may have a motion to confirm actions taken.
Mr. Chair, did you do
I
the
skip
calendar? 12.1? First reader?
Oh, new business, first reader. Yeah, I did that. You missed that? I'll do it again. Item 12.0, new business item, first readers. I will now yield the floor to Dr. Maxwell for an introduction of item 12.1 under new business, first readers.
It is on the agenda as a first reader. I believe everybody has copies, and it doesn't require discussion. We have no more presentation.
All right, colleagues, we're now at the point of accepting item 12.1 as a first reader. There's no discussion necessary. May I have a motion to accept item 12.1 under new business as a first reader?
So moved.
May I have a second? It has been properly moved and seconded to accept this item as first reader. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. This item has been accepted as a first reader. Thank you, Abby. Okay, now item 15.0. There's not a 14.5 or anything I missed. Item 15.1, colleagues, may I have a motion to confirm actions taken in executive session on Thursday, January 23rd, 2014. It has been moved. May I have a second? It has been properly moved and seconded that the Board of Education hereby approve actions taken in executive session on January 23rd, 2014, and are as follows: personnel appointments, student appeal, legal matters, and administrative matters. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? The items taken in executive session on January 23rd have been confirmed. Colleagues, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn the January 23rd, 2014 board meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Have a great night.